All right, thank you. On a welcome, members and guests. Superintendent Dr. Diane Gullett is here with us. Is Mrs. Chair Thrower here? Okay, so I saw Vice Chair Conrad. I was going to recognize Vice Chair Conrad. Thank you, guys. And for all the rest who are going to be part of our meeting today, thank you for taking the time to be here. I wanted to start out. We did have a resignation, and we sent that out via email. Neil McDonald had to resign from the board, and so I guess to make it official, I would entertain a motion to accept his resignation and a second.
So moved. Motion approved.
Motion is a second. All right, any further discussion on that? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, and then his designated alternate is Angie Lester, and Mrs. Lester is with us today. Thank you for being here, and welcome. So with that, roll call of ICROC members, Diana Williams.
I don't seem to have a complete list, but I'll go through the ones that I have. Jane Morley.
Present.
Mary Ann Collins. Melanie Lester.
Present.
Diana Williams present. Pastor Howard is absent. Floyd Magwood.
Present.
Kenneth Osley.
Present.
And Angie Lester.
Present. Present.
We do have a quorum.
All right, excellent. So next is acceptance of the minutes from the last meeting. Those were sent out via email. If everyone has had a chance to look at those, if there's not any corrections or changes, I'll accept a motion to accept those minutes from the last meeting.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
I second the motion.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, and next, district overview, Dr. Gullett.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the ICROC Committee. It's always a pleasure to be here and welcome you. I want to start by having Vice Chair Conrad come forward. She is here on behalf of our wonderful board tonight, would like to bring some greetings.
Good afternoon, ICROC Committee. I just wanted to say thank you for the work that you're doing. We are so grateful. Ms. Boston Ellis has been going over the budget with us the last several meetings, and we recently were reviewing what all the ICROC, the funding from the referendum, pays for as far as education, and what that money does, and that it reaches every single student in Marion County. And so I don't take lightly the time and the energy that you give to, that you donate to be on this committee, and I'm just really grateful for the work that you do to be our oversight and to make sure that it's being managed correctly. So thank you again for your time and your efforts that you put into making sure all of these funds are being used as they are meant to be. So thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Conrad.
Very well said. And so I am just pleased to say that we are in our second week of school. While we have students in the summer, it's never quite the same until we welcome all of our students back. We are, as you know, are a month in with our year-round model, our pilot. We are one of 3 districts in the state that engaged in a pilot of year-round schools at Wayamina Park Elementary, so that's going very well. And school is up and running for all the rest of our students, and I think I'm lacking 3 schools. I've been to nearly 50 in the last 2 weeks, just checking in. And it's just a delight to have our students back full-time with us. We have had a really great start and appreciate all the support that you all provide, and our staff, our community, and just excited for our great year ahead. I do want to mention that we had some conversation, as Vice Chair Conrad mentioned last time, about budgeting and forecasting and looking at that balanced budget. and board members had public conversation about the referendum dollars. And we don't have a report yet, but there was a public conversation among board members about looking at what it funds and how we might fund it differently. So I say that because there's more to come as the finance team under Ms. Boston Ellis's leadership is looking at what that would entail, bringing a balanced budget with, again, how do we use the dollars that our community has invested and trusted in us to do the best job to continue to reach all the students in Marion County. So a lot more to come, but I did want to bring that to your attention, and you will hear more about that. And I'll just land on the fact that I'm so pleased to see the school visits are planned. However, we can help make those successful. I am always very eager to have members of our community in our schools. And I say, see it for yourself. Ask the questions and see all the great work that's happening on behalf of students every day. I appreciate my team, appreciate my board, and appreciate all of you. And thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, so next, Ms. Teresa Boston Ellis to talk about the budget.
Good evening. It's not just me. I get by with a little help from my friends behind me, my adopted departments that help provide the information to you as it relates to the referendum. But it's always a pleasure to be with you and to share what's going on in our schools. And as I stated, I have some folks up here with me. Charity Corneliuson, she's the coordinator of physical education. Catherine Oddie, she's the coordinator of career and technical education. Kelly Brower, coordinator of instructional materials, special programs, and media services. Brooke Hutto, she's the coordinator of fine arts, and she'll be talking about the art and music programs. And Dr. Tiffany Cowart-Hughes, she's the coordinator of professional leadership and learning, and Dennis McFadden, who is our director of Safe Schools. So we always start talking about what we've collected and the expenses associated with the referendum. As you can see, since 2015 to 2016, all the way down to 23-24, we have basically finalized our financial statements for the 23-24 year, but we do have some adjusting entries to make. So if any of this information changes, we'll bring it back to you at our quarterly meeting, I believe in October. But just as a reminder, the referendum was approved, and this was our second renewal, November 8th, 2022, and it is effective July 1, 23 through June 30th, 2027. And you can see all the allowable uses of funds, ranging from reading, physical education, art, music, media, our vocational programs, to meet class size, retain state certified teachers, paraprofessionals, and school safety. We have collected since 2015-16 a total of $198.6 million. We have spent since 2015-16 a total of $186.9 million. So that is quite a bit of funds that have been collected as well as spent on behalf of the referendum. So the revenues for the 23-24 year totaled $34.3 million. And also the expenditures for the 23-24 year were $35.3 million. The total budget for referendum, budgeted expenditures was right at $38.8 million. And you can see the different programs that it supported, from class size, which included teachers and paras, to physical education, vocational programs, and so forth, with our last category to the right of school safety. This slide just provides you with the actual expenditures. Again, you'll note that the largest dollar amount was spent in class size, and the remaining categories, which included physical education, vocational, and last, school safety. So this gives you a picture of all the programs and all the dollars actually spent in those programs by year. Our beginning fund balance for referendum was $12.7 million. As you know, that the fund balance is restricted, so if we don't spend those dollars, they roll over into the next year. Our actual revenue for 23-24 was $34.3 million. Actual expenditures for 23-24 was $35.3 million. So our actual fund balance at the end of 23-24 was $11.7 million. And I always like to remind everyone that that is important because we do not receive tax proceeds until the end of November, December. So the fund balance is our cash flow, if you would, to cover us from the months of July through November. This is the first year that we have incorporated charter schools. So we've chosen to provide to you the picture of the traditional schools, if you would, and then we'll also look at the charter schools. Our first category, always keeping our mind on who we are providing services for, the children of Marion County. The first category is class size reduction. That budget was $17.6 million. We have spent to date in the 23-24 year $17 million and had unspent of $580,000. This covered the costs for salary and benefits for 157 teachers and 153 paraprofessionals. So at the end of the 23-24 year, we had spent 96.71% of the budget.
Mrs. Boston Ellis, I just want to clarify, the $580,000, is that being used in this with the same mindset as the $11 million to help carry till November?
Yes.
Okay.
That will be rolled over into fund balance for the 24-25 year. And we've been in budgeting, and I have to really think about what year I'm in right now because we're straddling 23-24 as well as the budget for 24-25. But any funds that are unspent roll into fund balance.
And was that planned? Was that anticipated to have that rollover?
It's not anticipated. If you look on that sheet, the original budget for teachers was for 163, but we ended up with some vacancies, so we only had 157 teachers. So that's typically what happens. If the money isn't spent, it's rolled over to the next year. Excellent question. Thank you for that.
Quick question too, please.
Yes.
Are we putting all the new teachers and paraprofessionals through the referendum dollars?
Only if it is a brand new teacher for class size. And remember, the paraprofessionals are the kindergarten paraprofessionals. So that's the set of paraprofessionals that are in the referendum, the kindergarten paraprofessionals. As far as the teachers, it would be any teacher that or teaching position that is new. So say if a school earned another teacher based on the number of students, then that would be in the referendum.
Thank you.
So I'll turn it over now to Charity Corneliuson, who is our coordinator of physical education.
Good afternoon. How are all of you?
Afternoon.
Remind me to put this back down. Right. All right. I'm very happy to be here, and I appreciate the time that you take out of your day just to listen to us drone on about the things that we're really passionate about in our specific areas. And I know I can speak for everyone when I say we are extremely grateful for the opportunities that the referendum provides, especially in my department because it provides jobs, quite frankly, for physical education teachers, and in turn provides opportunities for learning, physical education learning, for every elementary student in Marion County. Our physical educators spent the first days back on MCPS campuses dodging a little bit of weather, first of all, and preparing for the new year. Part of their return was spent in high-quality subject area-specific professional learning. In these sessions, they not only were informed of the most recent curriculum updates, but they were able to practice hands-on lesson planning and collaboration with colleagues. Our dedicated coaches started the year with a stockpile of new learning tools for their professional toolbox. I don't know if you're familiar with professional development for teachers, but physical educators don't often get the opportunity to get subject area specific professional learning. A lot of times it is for the entire campus and is loosely applicable to them, but we were excited this year to have so many of them participate in this back to school learning that was just for them and hands-on, not only in the way that they learn, but the way that they like to teach. There we go. The beginning of the year means introducing routines, establishing daily procedures, and building classroom communities. Structure and consistency is the key framework for a successful year of standards-based learning. Our physical educators have a unique opportunity to positively impact every student on their campus, and they recognize it starts with building positive relationships. While the rest of Marion County elementary schools were just getting started, Wyoming Park already had 3 weeks of learning under their belts. They are a hop, skip, and jump ahead of their back-to-school routines, and they're rolling into their units of instruction. We are looking forward to a fantastic year in MCPS physical education. Thank you.
Thank you.
So when we look at the program for physical education, the year 23-24, the cost of 22 PE teachers as well as 26 PE technicians, that cost for salary and benefits was about $2.5 million. The original budget was $2.7 million. They've spent $2.6 million. $170,000 was unspent and will be rolled into the fund balance for 24-25. The additional expenditures include purchase services, materials and supplies such as balls, bats, and other materials that are used in the physical education program. And also there was some additional equipment, but all the things are used in that program. So this particular program spent about 93.88% of the budget.
Ms. Boston Ellis, I'm sorry again. So seeing that it was the original budget as far as 26 PE teachers and 26 technicians was completely, filled. Again, the $170,000, how was that unspent?
So what you're seeing is, if your question is about the teachers' salaries and the PE technicians, there are times when there may be a vacancy. They could have started the year and did not end the year, or we would have hired during the year. So they're in and outs. But what this is reflective of is the number of teachers and the number of PE techs that were there at the end of the year.
Okay.
Would that also reflect that the benefits, maybe not all employees will accept the benefits?
We do have those situations as well, but we build our budget based on every employee starting the beginning of the year and that they're going to be there the entire year. But you are correct, we use an average for benefits, but there are some people who do not have full benefits or they refuse the benefits. So basically, when we budget, we're looking at the average of whether it's the board-paid health, life, workers' comp, and of course, your Social Security and Medicaid.
Okay.
And I have a question. Since Wyoming Park is now a year-round school, will there bring about an increase in their budget?
They should not. All of the teachers are on a 196-day contract. What is different about Wyoming is they will get different breaks than the traditional school. And I don't know if you need additional information, Dr. Gullett could probably tell you. So an example is they're getting ready to have a break, I believe, the 23rd through the first weekend in September, I believe. So they will technically not be on contract during those 2-week breaks. Did anyone want to add to that?
No, it's spread out.
Yeah, their schedule is spread out over the year, but they have different breaks than the traditional school.
Thank you.
And I'll add in here as well, each school gets $2 per student in order to purchase, whether it's equipment or supplies for the program. And that's, we'll get that in PE, art, music, those type programs get that. So they can add additional supplies and equipment to their regular budget that they receive from their principals. Next, we'll have Ms. Adi to come up and talk about the vocational programs.
Good afternoon. Today I'm going to share some of the activities our teachers participated in this summer to get them ready to kick off this school year, and some of the program updates that are going to be happening due to referendum this year. We're excited. Pictured here is a FANUC robot arm. This will be coming to Bellevue High School's Robotics Automation and Design program. This particular robot is what's called a collaborative robot, which means it's designed to work with humans and has some built-in safety features. It's the latest technology in industry, and our students will have the ability to both program and use the actual arm. In order for us to even order the arm, their teacher, Dale Toney, had to attend a 2-week summer training on the arm. So now that he's attended that training, they're building it for us, and we should have it in a couple months for students to use in the classroom. We also have some really exciting things happening in our construction academy at Lake Ware High School. This year, we will be starting Marion County's first pre-apprenticeship program. This has been a little over a year in the making through a partnership with the Marion County Building Industry Association. Pictured here on the left, you can see some of the members of the board that will oversee that pre-apprenticeship program. We'll be working to register students in that pre-apprenticeship all throughout this month of September and hope to continue to grow that academy throughout the school year. Also pictured on the right are some of our business and IT instructors. Earlier this month, we were able to put them through an intensive 2-day training to familiarize them with a new industry certification called WordPress. We'll be offering that certification to students this year. So students attended that 2-day course, were then given study time, and then we actually tested them on the certification, which is required before they can give it to students. And I'm happy to share that every single one passed. We offer CTE programs in all of the pathways listed to both middle and high school students. Referendum helps us to keep these programs up to date with both industry needs and with cutting-edge technology. The technology and future job outlook changes very, very rapidly, especially in the vocational programs, so we're very fortunate to have this referendum funding to keep students prepared to be successful.
Thank you.
As a supplement to our vocational programs, there are 18 additional vocational teachers that support these programs, of which 1.5 million is for salaries and employee benefits. You'll notice that they get a little bit more than $2 per student. And because the vocational programs are fairly expensive, they are allotted funds so that they can not only purchase new equipment or equipment that is needed, but also to replace existing equipment. Now we'll move on to library media with Ms. Kelly Brower, who is our coordinator of instructional materials.
Good afternoon. I'm excited to be here to tell you some of the things that occur in our library media centers. Throughout the year, of course, media specialists will continue to check out books, building that equity of making sure all children have books in their homes and are able to read with their families. But today, since our circulation numbers would be lackluster, as we just opened schools, and right now they're going through their orientations and doing some internet safety, I wanted to take this opportunity to highlight some of the other events that occur throughout the school year in our media centers. So each and every year, the morning news show is produced in each of our elementary media centers. So here we see the news crews from Saddlewood and Romeo. And I would like to point out in the photo all the way to the left, we see Mr. Lanza, who is Florida's 2024 School-Related Employee of the Year. So that's a great honor that we got to earn this year in Marion County. Oh, I need a forward. So our media specialists work on the English language arts benchmarks. That is part of their weekly tasks. This helps our English language arts teachers. So here we see kids working on some characters and some character development activities, again, to support our English language arts benchmarks. In the middle, we see our exceptional students getting some exceptional strategies. If you've ever had the chance to visit the library at Hillcrest, it is absolutely amazing all the things that are happening for our exceptional students and the way that that media center has been modified to meet all of the different needs. It's quite remarkable. And in the last picture, we see that the celebration of the love of reading occurs very early. So throughout all of our elementary schools, we celebrate all of our very youngest readers to make sure we're developing a very deep love of reading. So here's a mirage of pictures, but we have on the left, we see our media specialists work to develop community partnerships. So the pictures here are from Maplewood, and one is of the Ocala Civic Theater, and another is of the Marion County Humane Society. So our community partners come into our media centers and offer all types of education programs. In the middle, we see some middle school students engaging in their media center on the computers and working on projects, but also they can sit down in comfortable furniture and talk about books and often work on some book reviews together. And then, of course, on our last side to the right, we see those bright little happy faces as they stand in line to check out books. I gotta tell you, the bottom right, if I'm ever having a bad day, I bring up his precious little face. My whole day is better. So something else our K-5 media specialists work on is the Student Media Festival. So this year, they're already hard at work assisting students producing videos for this year's upcoming Student Media Festival. However, I just wanted to highlight that last year's Student Media Festival, we did have 232 entries from 20 different schools. And in March, last March, nearly 36 industry experts judged the online entries in 12 categories in 4 age groups. So today I just really wanted to share why we love to circulate books. Our media specialists are definitely adding a whole lot more to their school community and to the general community. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you've never been to the media festival, you should try it for at least once. It's very exciting, and it's amazing at the talents that our students have. As with the other categories, there are 16 media specialists that were paid out of referendum to the tune of $1.3 million for salary and benefits. The remaining are purchase services and materials and supplies for the programs at the elementary schools. With a budget of $1.3 million, and they've spent the 23-24 year, $1.3 million with a remaining unspent amount of $47,000. Now we will go on to fine arts with Brooke Hutto. She's a coordinator of fine arts, and she'll talk about the arts, and you can go ahead and skip to the music as well, and I'll come back with the numbers. Ms. Hutto?
Here we go, raise it up a little, sorry. Good evening. I am always very excited to share with you what is going on in the world of visual and performing arts. And as always, thank you all for being here and contributing your time for this group. In our final quarter of the 23-24 school year, the visual arts programs had a variety of different school-based art shows that put their artistic pursuits on display for their families and communities. In our first slide, you can see photos from the Hillcrest Annual Art Showcase. Our students at Hillcrest School displayed their creations from the year in the school's gymnasium, where this year's theme was Under the Sea. The students worked the event as greeters, they ran the games and the concessions, and they were even dressed as pirates for walking the plank. Both 2D and 3D artworks were created, including a blacklight room and a gift shop. Many of their pieces were available for purchase. I myself purchased about 3 or 4 pieces that are now getting to hang in my office. And the proceeds actually go directly to the students themselves. And so it was a really exciting event. It is open to the public, so hopefully this year you will be able to attend. On our next slide, you will see some artwork that was put on display for the Memorial Day ceremony that was held at Veterans Memorial Park. We had students from Bellevue Middle School, Sunrise Elementary, and Madison Street Academy. They created patriotic artwork to fit the theme of Passion of Patriotism for this event. And the artwork went on display inside one of the gazebo areas, and then it also was on display for the main event that Monday to celebrate Memorial Day. As far as our performing arts programs go, at the end of last school year, they had their culminating performances, concerts, and musicals. The top left is the Forest High School musical theater program, and they performed All Shook Up at the CF Auditorium. We also had a production on the top right that was of Legally Blonde Junior that was held at Horizon Academy. At the bottom left, we have the Shady Hill Elementary Harmony, and they were selected to perform at Disney Springs back in May. So the entire Harmony got to go out and perform for all of the students and just barely beat the weather that was coming in. So they had a really awesome time, and then they got to go to Epcot for the remainder of the day. And then finally at the bottom right, you see we have students from our dance program at Bellevue High School. They were practicing for their spring showcase and then their end of the year assessment piece. And as you can see, the referendum funding that is provided by our taxpayers helps to keep fine arts alive and thriving in Marion County. As we kick off the 24-25 school year, I invite you all to join us at our district events. I will definitely send you a copy of our schedule, so hopefully you will get to come visit and see some of the things that our students are doing and see the passion and talent that our students and teachers have. So thank you again for your efforts on this committee, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
So we'll start with art. Art supports 0.5 of a coordinator, also 16.5 art teachers, and 7 paraprofessionals. They spent right at 92.24% of their budget, 1.5 million for salaries and benefits, and that total budget was $1.8 million, and they spent 1.6 million, with unspent left remaining of $139,000. In terms of music, the other half of the coordinator, 0.5 coordinator, also 17 music teachers and 8 paraprofessionals. In addition to those units or staff, we also provide the secondary schools with an allocation for their music programs. And that was to the tune of $121,000. For this particular program, 94% was spent of the budget, and the budget was $1.9 million. And 1.7 million of that, predominantly all that was spent, was toward salary and benefits. The remaining on purchase services, and it says utilities, but what that is fuel for transportation. That's how it's recorded in our general ledger. Next, we will go on to professional leadership and learning. Dr. Tiff.
Could I ask a quick question
Sure.
about that? So that was helpful in the utilities part. Could you just give us an example, like in purchase services, materials and supplies are pretty self-explanatory, but like
Right.
capital outlay or purchase services, what a typical expense would be in those?
So for the purchase services, there was some music play online subscriptions. There was a combo kit, I think it was called the Frozen Princess Convenient Combo Kit, print and download subscriptions, and also music lesson books. For, let's see, capital outlay, that was a drum major podium, was one, that was an example of what was purchased. And then in the dues and fees, that is fees that were paid for school and student fees, also FMEA membership dues for the teachers, as well as there was also some fees for all of the elementary schools. Sometimes that's confusing because of the way we have to categorize different items based on what we call the red book, and that's the Department of Education telling us what type of supplies and equipments go into a particular, what they call this an object. And so that's to ensure that all school districts across the state of Florida are using consistent accounting.
No, that was helpful, and I don't know. I know from the fact that you so quickly answered that question with specific examples, the level of detail you must have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, I don't even want to think about. But that's great, and I think for us, just as a committee, to understand some of those things, and the fact that you have those on hand. So if anybody ever has any questions, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Dr. Hughes?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Board. Thank you all for being here today. I am very excited to be here today to share with you some of the supports that we are providing to our novice and early career educators and the mentors that support them. As you know, the referendum dollars allow us to offer off-site induction and mentoring on every single campus. New to the induction mentoring program this school year are monthly professional learning opportunities for our mentors and leads, both in person and virtually. The monthly meetings are designed to enhance the skills of our leads and our mentors. These meetings provide a platform for sharing best practices, discussing challenges, analyzing data to create support systems, and receiving training on effectively working with adults. The new Teacher Academy provides monthly learning opportunities aligned with the Florida Education Accomplished Practices, our FEAPS, to assist teachers in honing their skills and elevating student achievement. We have also implemented new accountability systems through monthly surveys for all participants, which will provide valuable insights into how well things are going and identify changes that can improve the experience for everyone. Additionally, the Induction and Mentoring Program has created a handbook and a quick guide, which was provided to each school back in July. We've also developed Canvas courses with resources for our mentors and our lead mentors for monthly meetings and new Teacher Academy courses. Referendum funds provided to the Professional Leadership and Learning Department are used to support induction and mentoring. The tiered structures we have in place allow us to provide support for teachers within their first 3 years of their educational journey. Our goal is to make sure that every educator feels valued, supported, and equipped to help their students learn and succeed. We want to create a smooth transition into teaching, into the teaching profession, help develop effective teaching techniques, and encourage ongoing professional growth for our early career educators. Most of these funds are paid out toward the end of the fiscal school year because they are earmarked specifically for mentor and lead induction supplements. Hours are documented through the year, and leads and mentors receive their supplement payment in May or June of each year. All teachers identified as novice, which is less than six months of teaching experience, receive a one-to-one mentor who supports their growth in the FEAPS. We currently have 170 teachers who fall into this category, and they have all been assigned a qualified mentor. As positions are filled and applicants are cleared, this number will increase. Mentors dedicate 30 hours of support, which amounts to approximately 1 hour per week, to growing our new talent and targeting areas where they have opportunities to develop their craft. Completing the full 30 hours of mentee support allows a mentor to be compensated for the full supplement amount of $1,100. Lead mentors are selected by the school administrator at all school sites to work with our early career educators. Early career educators have taught for 2 or 3 years. Lead mentors facilitate the monthly school-based induction meetings driven from the needs of specific early career educators and FEAPS. Participants in these monthly professional leadership sessions are early career educators. Lead mentors earn a supplement of $2,200 paid out at the end of the year, providing 60 hours of support to the campus school-based induction participants. On our last slide, you will see that we conducted our Great Beginnings event on July 30th and 31st. All new educators were invited to participate in a 2-day workshop that included breakout sessions, guest speakers, and much more. 99% of our participants reported that the event helped them feel prepared for their roles as new teachers. On the first day, We had workshops, and we also had district departments that hosted informational booths and guest speakers. On the second day, participants participated in workshops as well as a panel discussion from our Golden Apple teachers. Additionally, we have hosted mentor and lead preparation courses over the summer to help build their skills and prepare them for their incoming mentees. Participants shared that they were excited to start the new year and look forward to embracing the new additions to the program. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your service on this committee.
I
Yes, ma'am.
do have a question. There is an asterisk
Yes.
on slide 28. I was looking for an explanation for that.
So that 170, the little star represents the fact that the numbers will continue to go up. So just as of today, I believe we're already at 195.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
great.
I have a question also. Does the induction and mentoring program that you've just discussed includes MTI and MTC?
Yes, ma'am, it does.
It does?
Yes, ma'am. Every school.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So for professional development, they spend about 46% of their budget as of the end of the year. 525,000 were for salary and benefits, which were those supplements that Dr. Hughes mentioned. The remaining dollars were $6,250 were spent on materials and supplies for teachers and mentors. The total budget was $1.2 million, and the spent was $531,000, and $621,000 was unspent and will be rolled over into the new year.
Mrs. Boston Ellis, that's a very large amount of this section that has not been spent. I know the other ones are in the 90s, and this is almost half. What is the reasoning behind that?
My guess is that it depends on who finishes the program. We also may have paid out additional teachers in the month of July, and we have to accrue it back to the month of June. So once our budget and our accounting financial statements are finalized, then we'll see what was actually paid out.
Okay, and my other question is the salaries. Quickly did the math on the lead cost and the projected mentor cost, but that does not add up to the $429,000. So the salaries are referring to, or who collects those salaries?
Those are not full-time salaries, if that's what you're asking. Those are, we have to record the supplements as a salary amount because they are our employees, the instructional employees. I think what is on this, and I may need to be corrected by Dr. Hughes, is they're looking at going forward to 24, 25. And what I'm talking about are the expenditures for 23, 24.
Okay.
Is that correct? That is correct.
Okay.
So I did notice that in our discussion, some of this discussion, it was the 24, 25, but what we are talking about in terms of dollars is what we spent for the prior year.
Thank you.
They're just excited about what's happening now.
I have a quick question, too.
Yes.
When I look at what was put towards professional development this year, 1.1 million, and last year it was less than $500,000, were there that many more teachers in the program? Or why is it twice as much?
So are you comparing 22, 23 versus 23, 24?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? I mean, that would be my assumption. I don't know if Dr. Hughes wants to come back
They
up.
get paid twice as much.
I think we have. I know there was over 200 new teachers. I don't know if they were novice teachers or teachers that came from other districts and have a lot of experience. But if you're looking for us to reconcile that, like I said, they're on those numbers, they're talking about what's going forward in 24, 25, whereas my expenditures are related to the prior year. So I don't know if someone wants to come up and talk a little bit about that.
Does that lend itself to a greater need? Because I do understand what you're saying. It does almost double, oh, well, actually over doubles.
Okay. Definitely is something where we'll look into the amount that we had, but what we do, hello, my name is Miss Hughes, not Dr. Hughes. So good afternoon. And I'm the Director of Professional Leadership and Learning. So last year we had an amount, and what we just do from the amount that is allocated is we look at our incoming teachers as far as our early and novice career, and then we'll pay out from that amount that we have. Of course, the 1,100 and the 2,200 that was previously discussed. And so that's how we look at it. There's another portion that is allocated for our charter schools for them to do their induction and mentoring. So there is a portion that is allocated to them within that big sum as well.
And we're paying us stipends, aren't we?
Yes.
Is that what the charter schools are doing too? Or are they paying the whole salary?
They'll have their induction and mentoring program and just what it will look like at their charter school and what that support will look like on their campuses.
I have a question. I thought the charter schools were not,
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I thought the charter school was not included in this slide, in these slides.
We provided them with additional funds. That's included in that money as well. Yes.
I have a quick question. And you may have answered this already, or this may have been answered a long time ago. The professional leadership and learning, from a ballot standpoint, does that fall under the kind of retaining state certified teachers and paraprofessionals? Is that kind of the bucket that falls in?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do want to express that I'm very glad that there is continual feedback amongst us so it can be adjusted, or, looking at how effective that money is that's being spent. That did raise a question with me as far as, is something similar done in the other sections as far as like PE and art and music and that type of things? As far as how the money's being spent, a lot of times, we get great information from the boots on the ground and insight. So I was just curious if that was being tapped at all.
If the professional leadership and learning funds are being used for other areas such as physical education?
No. She mentioned that they get feedback throughout the process from the mentees, and I was curious if there was some sort of feedback available to the other educators and staff members from PE and music and those types of things too. It's just good to know that it's from the bottom up is all on board with how the money's being spent.
Does anybody want to speak to that?
can run in heels too. So I can't speak for all the departments, but most of us in library media for sure, we do have a monthly meeting where we are checking in with our media specialists. 27 of my media specialists are paid for referendum. And so we are constantly gathering feedback from them. And of course, we go out and visit the schools. I would think the same is true for Ms. Hutto and also Ms. Corneliuson, because we are out visiting, talking, chatting all the time. Our emails, our different surveys that we send out. So I think we do a very good job of getting the feedback and reacting to it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think when we look at the detailed expenditures by the different departments, also we've noticed that even in the funds that the district has been provided, you will see some level of funding or some level of help to the charter schools. So it's not unusual to see where we're spending money on behalf of them. I believe you'll find out in Safe Schools, there's some things that we've done to support them in addition to the allocation that they've been provided, just because they have a small clientele. So we'll turn it over to Mr. McFadden, our Director of Safe Schools.
Okay, good afternoon, or good evening. Good afternoon, still afternoon. As always, I'm last, but we're good with that. And just to follow what Ms. Boston Ellis was talking about with the charter schools, we see every student in Marion County, regardless of their school location, as ours. Although we may not provide, for instance, funds of any sort to our private schools, if they call us and reach out to us for anything, whether that is advice, security recommendations, anything they ask us for, we meet with them, we discuss things over the phone, we share our ideas and our policies and procedures with them, because we feel as though every child in Marion County deserves to be in a safe learning working environment. So as we continue to prepare for this 24-25 school year, I'm excited about where we're at with our security projects. Several of these projects, with the help of the referendum funding, help us to meet the mandates for the new House Bill 1473. Although House Bill 1473 posed some unique challenges, we're focused on continuing to provide the most robust level of safe learning and working environment for our schools. As we continue to install door buzzers and cameras, we also continue to use referendum funds to purchase printers for our visitor and volunteer management programs. The Raptor program ensures that we meet the requirements of the Jessica Lunsford Act by ensuring we protect potential victims and identify sex offenders before they can cause harm to our students. So as you can see here on the board, the door buzzers and cameras are constantly being installed. If there's ever an opportunity for us to add extra cameras, extra door buzzers for unique purposes, we do that. The 800 megahertz, this is just kind of a wrap up of what we've done. The 800 megahertz radios have been installed in our school buses. We also have them installed in the new vehicles that we have. The replacement locks and key cylinders, again, providing those extra layers of security. And I don't know if you have this here, you may have this here, but providing that extra layer of security. With this new mandate, with all the mandates of locking doors and gates and access control, it is a little bit of a challenge, which forces us sometimes to add key cylinders, make keys and new locks so that we can meet the mandate. Knox boxes for the providing rapid access to our first responders. In the event of an active assailant or after hours event, law enforcement can just respond to the school. And we got all of these Knox boxes that are located on the same location at every campus, which is the main entrance to the left of the door, 6 feet up, 2 feet over. And once they have access to that Knox box, they're able to get keys out of it and gain access to the school campus, to every classroom. And that keeps our staff during an active assailant event from getting up, going to the door, opening door for the law enforcement officials. Again, we're school resource officers. We referendum do fund some of our school resource officer program. Weather radios. We talk a lot about active assailant, but here in the state of Florida, we have a lot of weather emergencies, tornadoes. So we purchased weather radios. Listen at that.
Right on cue.
Right on cue. I didn't plan that. I don't have that kind of connection. But we purchased weather radios because we know here in the state of Florida where we're living at, there's emergencies like this here just pop up at any time. So we want to provide an extra layer of protection and advance notice to our schools with that. Fortify Florida posters. Again, the state mandate requires that we have these Fortify Florida posters, which is anonymous app that students and the parents or anybody can identify, anonymously report any type of concerns that they may have. We're required by state statute to put posters around the district. We're required to have Fortify Florida on all of our district-owned devices, and we're pushing that out to students so that they'll have a better way of and an understanding of being able to notify us when something is happening, and they're doing it anonymously. And finally, vehicles that was purchased to help support the team responding to and from any type of emergencies. So we're just constantly using referendum funds to beef up and provide a level of security for our staff and our students. So this is how the panic, we're talking about panic hardware and key cylinders, but this is a picture of our printers. This is what we put in our schools. We had to purchase these printers for every school because the old ones was obsolete. So we're in the process of purchasing these printers through the Raptor technology that prints out the badges, the visitor badges for our visitors. And finally, the reunification exercise. I had a great team put together our reunification exercise. It was something that Dr. Gullett, when she told us we needed to do this, and we realized as a district, we had been talking about reunification, we have a document, we got a plan, but we had never actually done a full-scale exercise. So over the summer, we actually used Meadowbrook Church to have a full-scale exercise where we use our district staff, principals, as well as some of our students to simulate a school being evacuated during an emergency, responding to the church, and parents actually coming and picking those students up. As we were aware with the Forest incident, we implemented the reunification plan, and although it went well, we realized that we could have done some things better. We had some challenges, but the reason we do these exercises so we can beat those challenges and better prepare ourselves in the event of a real life emergency. So the reunification exercise was funded by the referendum, again, allowing us to prepare ourselves for any type of emergency situation if one ever arises. Thank you. Any questions?
I have a question, but I think it might be more for Ms. Bostonellis about
ma'am.
the more than doubling in the expense again, and I was just wondering if we're playing catch-up with the charter schools maybe, since that's been a more recent occurrence, plus is it going also towards the new schools? Are we putting things in ahead of time rather than having to go back and put in all that safety equipment after?
For the new schools that are coming up, what we're calling elementary W and X, is that what you're talking about? When we build a new school, it comes fully equipped with safety items. I believe Mr. McFadden and others have worked with the construction companies to determine what needs to be in those schools, so they will come fully equipped with cameras and all the other things that are required by Marjorie Stoneman. But that's an excellent question. That is the beauty of building a new school. You get to put all of the needed functions and equipment in that school as well. I want to also add to his discussion, a lot of the things that he mentioned, they're either not totally funded. So these are mandates that are not fully funded. We receive in what's called a categorical for this 24-25 year, it's about $4 million. That really doesn't even cover a portion of the needs that Safe Schools has. So referendum plays a pivotal part in ensuring that we meet all of those requirements. And I think that's important for you to know and our community. There's always things that have to be replenished. I mean, cameras only last so many years, and the door buzzers. We did receive a grant for the security fences, and it started out with a substantial dollar amount, but every year that amount got lower and lower. So we are, again, trying to meet the needs of that mandate, but that mandate is not fully funded.
Let me, if I could add, just from the other side, the private side, all of school design now, since active shooting started happening a number of years ago, the design and construction industry has revamped how they design schools and how they build them. So all of them now are designed and built first and foremost around single points of entry, barriers, the entire school design and construction business, its first priority. So you won't see a new school going up anywhere that doesn't incorporate all the best known ideas as far as school safety. That's just how they're done now.
Thank you for that.
And I do want to point out, I believe the question was about, again, from 22-23 to 23-24, doubling, and I'm sure that's playing catch up. And you mentioned unfunded mandates. What do we anticipate for next year? Will that continue to rise?
It would depend on the mandates. When Dr. Gullett got here, there were a lot of things that we had not done. So we took an aggressive position about catch up. I think that is the perfect word. Did a lot of catch up. And because of the referendum, we were able to do that. And it's a balancing act because there's needs, and like now there's a couple of new ones that I'm not real sure how we're going to meet them, but we're going to meet them. And those kinds of items are expensive. And again, they're recurring costs in some instances. Also, our 3-year contract with the county and the city for SROs, we have to negotiate that for the 25-26 year. So we anticipate that, realistically, it's going to go up. But so you may continue to see those budgets as well as expenditures continue to rise over the next few years.
So my concern is obviously that is a very important part of our community, keeping our students safe. But as that rises, you all have to make hard decisions about how the other categories may suffer for that. And so that process I don't envy you for at all. But I do thank you for doing that. But I do, because I'm very much want to understand all the behind the scenes. So how do those choices get made on how much goes to each one of these allocated sections?
For currently, in the 23-24 year, the staff is basically set. So class size is based on new teachers. Again, the paraprofessionals, those are the kindergarten paraprofessionals. The other ones are based on when we had the recession and we cut those units in half. So I believe those are set as well. But we will experience challenges going forward, and that's what Dr. Gullett alluded to. The board had a very detailed discussion about how do we, maintain what we're doing, staying within the parameters of the referendum, but trying to balance the needs of not only our students, but also safety. You may recall safety was added the first renewal. So we didn't start out with safety being a part of referendum, but it has changed. You also have to keep in mind things like salary increases and the costs of benefits. Those increase every year as well. So we will be doing a balancing act, and I believe that's what Dr. Gullett and Mrs. Conrad were referring to, that they've charged us with going back and doing analysis of what's in referendum and looking at the staff that's included in the general fund as well, and providing some information to them to make those kinds of decisions. So,
Thank you so much for your explanation. Oh, you've got somebody sneaking
sure.
up.
Do you mind if I jump in?
Please.
I think Ms. Boston always does a phenomenal job of explaining. I'm going to categorize your phenomenal questions as wants and needs. And I think sometimes it's hard to talk about the elephant in the room is these are all needs. They're really not wants. And I'll start with the safety. And yes, I've pressed the team pretty hard since I've been here about accelerating the pace, and we've talked about that publicly, for safety. That's a non-negotiable, right? Every one of our students, our staff, our visitors, our community deserves that. None of us can afford not to have safe schools. Even if your child or grandchild or family member is not sitting in a school, we can't afford that in this community. And I've talked about my visit to Parkland. I've talked about spending time with people who were there and have experienced that. And my takeaway and my role is, what do I need to know and what do I need to do now to prevent that to the best of our ability, right? But when you look at even the programs of support, the investment in, to the chair's point, in our current staff, professional learning, leadership, we can't afford not to do that, because these are the folks that are in front of our students and teaching them to ensure they have a bright future. And so all of these programs, reaching every student, is about having the art and music and the physical education so that they're healthy and well and thriving. So I just felt like it was important to come in and just jump in with, sometimes that's part of the work that we need to do a better job of explaining what we're doing and why. And they're not frivolous. They're not extra things. They're foundational to everything that we do for our students. And I think that our students deserve that, and their families deserve that. And so as the unfunded mandates continue to come, I think the intention around them is always the right thing. Safe environments, our CTE, our vocational programs, we have invested heavily in that. We've revamped that over the last few years, and we now have pathways from the elementary schools forward that are aligned with our workforce. And we're seeing huge increases. Those aren't wants, those are needs. And they're not all funded in our state formula that comes to schools, not to the extent that is needed. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So we are really incredibly appreciative of our community, which I think our community recognizes that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really proud that our community recognizes that we're all in to do whatever it takes. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gullett. These are great questions, and I really appreciate the board's engagement today. This has been really, really good. I think maybe this runs through other people's minds, and I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this question, but I wanted to ask it out loud. Like, obviously, there's this many needs, and there's budget for this, but I'm almost positive that your answer to this question would be, like, obviously, there's no corners being cut on the safety part, right? Like, all the things that really matter are being taken care of, and it's just a matter of, can we add this or that to enhance? But is that
Yes, and my concern is for the other programs. I mean, at some point, there's going to have to be some give and take. So that's where that question was. When it comes to making those difficult decisions, how do you choose which one of those other programs have to give a little bit so that we do have that safe learning environment?
Yes, and so I'll go back to, sorry, I went off on a whole different rant about wants and needs, but passionate about serving our students, obviously. Foundationally, the simple answer is we can't afford not to have safe schools. I'm an instructional leader, have always been an instructional leader, so obviously the instruction and support of our teachers and that work. But if you don't have a safe environment for working and learning, you can't do the next step. So if absolutely, that is the top priority. Quite simply, that is the top priority. Everything else surrounds that, but if you don't have that, you can't do the other pieces. Right? You just simply can't do the other pieces. So that's why I've pushed so hard to accelerate. And there's a lot of things we can't talk publicly about for safety reasons, obviously, about what we're doing behind the scenes to ensure that it's not just about hardening schools. So a lot of work and a lot of commitment has been around that, absolutely. That is the top priority.
That's one of the reasons why I don't understand why there are unfunded mandates when it comes to safety of schools. That's absolutely not acceptable.
Yeah.
Is there any part of the school district that negotiate with legislatures in regards to the unfunded mandates? Is there any outreach? Is there anything that, people can do or the school district is doing to discuss and to alleviate the unfunded mandates?
The simple answer is yes, absolutely. My board has had very public conversation about legislative priorities. We've talked about that. I sit on the board for the state superintendent group. We've had a lot of conversation and advocacy at the state level as well. And so all the groups that I know of, everybody is working hard to share our commitment to safety and how important it is to all of us in our communities. But we also need assistance. And it's very public about manning the gates. That is a public conversation. And so we are all committed to doing whatever we need to do, but it takes time and it takes resources and funding that we don't all have. Some locations may have it, but most of us do not.
Sorry, I was sidebarring. This is something that is not uncommon for the state to do. As far as unfunded mandates, they tend to do that. So this isn't the only avenue in which this is occurring.
Yeah.
Right. And we're appreciative. We have a great working relationship. We are really appreciative of our legislators that really support Marion County and our governor and the work that's happening at the state level. But I think the continued partnership, we understand the intent, so we just need support in fulfilling the expectation, because we're all committed to doing the right thing.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, as chair, I was told by some other board members that 5:30 was a deadline because of something, and I actually have something as well. Can we push this conversation about the charter stuff to the next meeting? Would that be okay? Is the board okay with that?
Yes.
If we.
I'm good with it.
Okay. And if that's the case, then I would just like to quickly wrap up some other matters. Everyone got their invites for the school visits?
Yes.
All right. And they kind of tell you where to be and at what time. And I just want to make sure we're understanding those correctly. There's an 8:30 and a 9:30. So are those, you'd be at Reddick Collier for 45 minutes or so and then off to another, or are those two options we can choose? Yes.
On that email.
Yes, good evening. Hi, I'm Deb Riedel, Senior Executive Director of Acceleration and Innovation. Yes, that is correct. You would attend both schools, so we will meet at the first school at 8:30 We would stay probably in time for half a class period, maybe. We might be able to see a class change and see a little bit of both classes at Reddick Collier, and then we would all head off sort of in a caravan to the next school. So you would visit both.
Excellent, thank you.
Welcome.
All right, so everybody has that information for the 9:13 and 9:27. And then I know we had talked about waiting for the school year to get going a little bit and get our feet underneath us to look at maybe some of the, I think it was the high school programs, middle and high schools. So I'll wait to hear from the district on that, what those best options are. Also, meetings for next year, we are mandated to do 4 meetings. We've kind of been trying to do them the third Thursday, I guess, of the first month of the quarter. Though I did notice didn't we do April this year instead? So does January, May, July, and October work for the school system calendar for us to do that, or do we need to tweak that? January, April, July, and October. The third Thursday of those. We can tentatively look at it, and then you can give us feedback. Is that okay if we send those tentative dates out and you give us feedback? If we need to tweak one, we can tweak it to better accommodate your schedule? Okay, great. And then one of our responsibilities is a written report. I remember a brief discussion about that. It's an annual report. Is that a typical calendar year annual or a school year annual? It's calendar year or school?
I think it's a school year.
So are we due a written report then? Produce one?
It's the chairman's responsibility.
Oh, boy. I remember when I was asked to take the chair, somebody said something about helping me with this. Does anybody remember? I'm going back to the minutes.
It was not me, I was not here, but I did notice that in the job duties, and I did have that circled as a question for an annual report to the school board. I was just curious what that was and how that was going to happen.
Yeah, so I will look into that, and I'm going to go back and find those meetings. Oh, actually, this is all recorded, right, Kevin? So I can go back and find the exact conversation that happened, and then I will,
An example.
okay, I will take responsibility
Gonzalez had put together.
to make sure that we get that report going. Great.
Yes, I'll send over the last report and we can take it,
Okay.
pick up from there.
Okay, so yeah, if you'll send me that, then we'll start on that. Excellent. And one last thing, Ms. Boston Ellis, if I just thought about this because of some of the questions, and you obviously have all the detail, and I don't think it's necessary that we get that level of detail, but what I thought was maybe you could take one of these categories per meeting. Obviously, class size reduction wouldn't be in it because it's all personnel, but, and just for one of these categories, each meeting, give us maybe the top 2 or 3 expenditures in each of those categories, like purchase services, materials and supplies, and capital outlay, just in one. That way, the committee's putting their eyeballs on it and familiar with it, and then we can just do a different one each time we meet. Would that be okay? All right, excellent. Is that okay with the board? All right.
Yes, it is.
Next meeting, October 24th, 4 p.m. here at MTI. And hopefully we'll have a report by that point. Is there any other matters for this board?
I just want to reiterate that I would love, love, love to be out for some of these events. And if, Hillcrest Art Show was mentioned, and I would have loved to attend that if I knew exactly when that was. So I would just, invite the staff to share those events with us, to get out in the schools and, just see the work.
Yeah, if anything is open to the public and it's within these scopes, if an invite could be sent out to this oversight committee, that would be great.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else?
I would just like to jump in and say thank you for your passion in your department. It comes out when you're talking about the pictures, when you're talking about the students and the events, and that's really, really cool. Thank you.
Yeah. And I know you've probably all been working all day too, so thank you for this extra time. If that's it, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned. Thank you.